Yo, it's the No Level Cap podcast. This week we talking about Batman Forever, All in DC, Evo, and Concord. Yo, welcome back to the No Level Cap podcast, where we talk about all the games, all the anime, all the nerd culture, and none of the bullshit. I am your host, Sage Ashford. It is nice to finally be back doing a proper podcast. Last week was like a lot. This is our first real podcast in almost like a month. And with that, I want to talk about our format shift. I know y'all are used to us talking about the entire podcast, just one topic. But that means there's a lot of topics that we don't get a chance to get to. And because we're all busy and can't film every day of the week, we decided to change it up a bit. Most weeks we will have a lead topic still, but we'll also cover a bit of hot topics in the nerd world. So let's just go ahead and get this first topic out of the way. Concord. I want to talk about Concord because, like, man, these numbers are wild. And I normally don't do the numbers thing, but holy shit. Concord has been on open beta, I think, this entire week or like the last 4 or 5 days.
It's
and
just
the
been,
numbers
this weekend.
That was on last weekend too. Last week.
It was last weekend for folks who pre-ordered the game.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's closed-ish beta kind
And
of.
PS Plus. If you have PS Plus, you got
yeah,
them too.
Yeah. But the numbers have been abysmal. The game is available for free right now because it is on beta. Currently, the Steam numbers are 2363. That's what it was when I checked about an hour ago as I was writing this up. For reference, Sega's Hyenas had similar numbers in a closed beta, and Sega gave the fuck up, was like, hey, cut that shit off. This ain't gonna make no money. Keep in mind, when this game launches, it'll be $40. It's not free to play. So I would just want to know what y'all think, like real quick. Is this gonna be like a major flop, Rakeem?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. So I've had a chance to play Concord in the beta, and what I played, I liked. I think there's a misconception with this game specifically, which probably reflects in some of the low turnout for this beta, that it's just an Overwatch clone. And to some degree, if you're a hero shooter in 2024, anything you do, if you're in that format, it's going to be brought back to Overwatch, which itself isn't in the fondest light anyway. So if you're a derivative of a game that nobody likes, good luck. I will say I got to play Concord, played a whole bunch of different characters. It actually takes a lot of hallmarks from Destiny 2's Destiny's multiplayer combat system, which I'm a big fan of. Anybody who knows me knows I play Destiny multiplayer all the time. So I kind of adjusted pretty quickly to it. Like, okay, this is a little different. I see how they're using the abilities and they kind of mimic kind of character classes from Destiny and different elements. It's a little floatier with the jump, but the abilities are a little stronger. And it looks beautiful. And the graphics are beautiful. I kind of like the space group coming together of some of the Guardians of the Galaxy. There's probably gonna be a lot of comparisons to Guardians of the Galaxy people who play this. Comedy and timing and things of that nature. So in that regard, I guess for a lot of people, it probably doesn't feel that original. It feels like a combination of different things together to kind of form an identity, but it feels derivative. And I think people see it as that, and that's what's causing the issue. And I'm not gonna lie, man, with like what I'm seeing online, interest of people I know, like daily, no one I know is outside of us is talking about this game at all. I don't see it.
It's too quick.
It might be. Maybe there wasn't enough time
up long enough.
I feel like it kind of was like that because when I saw the release date, I was like, "Yo, you just put the trailer out like last month. Like, holy crap! Like, shit." I wasn't ready. I was like, "Oh, there's a beta. It's playable. This is cool. This feels like a game." What's up, man?
No. Go ahead.
I'll say I feel like game having the beta now wasn't a bad idea. But if it was like, oh, we're having our first beta and we're gonna have another beta in like 3 months, and then maybe another one in another 3 months, and then come out next year around February, that gives people enough time to be like, okay, this is what this game's identity is. I kind of see it's doing its own thing to a degree, and maybe I'll give it more of a shot. It seems to be of high quality. It seems to be of high quality. It doesn't feel buggy. Not too many issues when I played. I mean, it felt pretty smooth to change characters. It's saying it's going to be a lot of different game modes, but it also feels like a missed opportunity because when you're playing the intro to this game, and Will, I think have you played some of Concord already?
Yeah, I have actually.
Okay. If you play the intro to this game right now, you probably see it and like this feels like this should have a narrative focus, and it doesn't. And I think that's a missed opportunity.
I was watching someone play it, and they're like, they do play single player stuff, but when they play multiplayer, they don't want PvE, they don't want story, they just want to go shoot somebody. And like they were doing the because of course with Concord, they like to do the vignettes and stuff. And as soon as one of the vignettes popped up, he was like, "I'm skipping that," just like I told y'all I was gonna do. And like I was listening to the people in chat, and the people in chat were like, "Yeah, it takes too long to get from game to game because they keep showing you all this like narrative shit that nobody cares about." And I was like, I don't know what y'all thought, the developers. I don't know what they thought was gonna happen. Like, you have narrative people that like single player games, and then you have multiplayer people that like multiplayer games, and they're not the same. And even when they are people that like both, they want their multiplayer to be multiplayer, and they want their single player to be single player. And so I don't know what they thought trying to merge the two. It's like you trying to reinvent the wheel. Like there's a reason why it's never been done. Like there was no need to do this. Like if you wanted to do a single player story game, you should have just done that. And if you wanted to do a multiplayer game, you should have stripped all that shit the fuck out of it. So I don't know. Will, you said you played it. What did you think of it so far? Are you surprised that the numbers are so low?
I'm not gonna say I'm surprised that the numbers are low per se, because I've seen a little bit of it now that you mentioned it. Because I do remember saying something like, "Oh, beta's out, but these numbers looking real funny," and I'm just like, I can't speak on what that could be, but from what I played, it looks great. They didn't they didn't waste like no quarter anywhere when putting stuff in this game, making it look and sound the way it is. Got the characters looking great. Everybody's their own thing, and it's awesome. And I like the game. It plays well. I enjoy it, but I do think, just like Keem said, in this time when you bring out something like a hero shooter, and you still got Overwatch still kind of kicking, it's you're gonna get yourself compared to Overwatch a little too much. Speaking of Overwatch, they just put out a new hero to try for this weekend. They just put the new support character out.
Bad timing.
Yeah, they just did that for this weekend for you to try them out. Like they showed the trailer and was like, "Oh, you can try her this weekend." I'm like, this is real bad timing on Concord's part. So it's hurting them, and this game being $40, I think, is the other thing that's hurting them really, because this game came with a price tag, and you gave us a multiplayer part of the game. And then when I seen the release date on the store page, it said August, and I looked at that like, why is this so close?
That was the thing I almost interrupted Keem over. I thought it said a release date when they first revealed it. Am I wrong?
I don't remember clearly.
Like at the Sony State of Play, like in May. I thought there was a release date. Am I tripping?
I think you're right, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't remember, so I could totally be wrong.
Right here, I'm looking at it. It's nearly at the end of August is when it's coming out. And I think that's going to shoot them more in the foot, because in my head, because when you start the game up, it gives you like this big narrative piece. Like you said, Sage, it gives you that to follow. Big narrative cutscene. Once you skip that one, you get another one behind it. And I'm just like, if you're showing me all this, that means this game has to have a story mode somewhere laced in here. But if you just selling me a multiplayer game like this, I'm sorry. You are shooting yourself clear in the foot with this one. Because all I'm getting is multiplayer stuff. I don't know what you're going to add after the fact, because that's really what matters if you're doing something like this, especially
apparently
a hero
for
shooter.
the narrative, it's just going to be like vignettes, like in between matches, which I'm like, nobody, the people that want that, they don't care. Like they're like, oh, I just want to keep shooting people.
That's not how that's going to work. I think the only way that even remotely works itself out is if they have to copy the Overwatch formula where they make events.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, there's a reason why Blizzard did not put that in the game. It was always like, hey, we're going to make this a separate part of the game. We're going to publish this. You can enjoy it. And then when you get back to the game, it's just the game. So I don't know. Terrence, what about you, man? Are you surprised the numbers are so low?
So I'll say that those numbers are surprising to me because I didn't really know anything about this coming into it. But I will say that didn't Helldivers come out this year? Helldivers 2?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it did.
Yes.
So I guess you can't really say that they were expecting another Helldivers success because I imagine this was in development. I mean, if not at the same time, maybe before, so they didn't know that Helldivers would be as
2018 is
big
when
as it
this went
was.
into development.
What's that?
This went into development in 2018, and Helldivers I think was in development for like 7 or 8 years.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there's no way that they would have known Helldivers would have been as big as it is and expected this to follow suit. Essentially, yeah, I imagine Sony's looking at this like, oh no, that's not what we thought this is not what we thought we were gonna get. But I mean, I guess we'll see when the full thing comes out. Maybe there's some way they can turn it around. Do people at least like the gameplay of it?
I think a lot of
Uh,
people do kind of mess with it.
Yeah, I've mostly seen positive reactions to it,
It was
but
fun.
just like as far as everybody's saying it's good, but not so good that they're willing to drop $40 on it. And
Yeah, like I said, that's the
so
problem. The price tag was really gonna hurt that game.
Yeah, because it's not like Helldivers in that regard where it feels like it's worth the money that you're spending. This just doesn't.
Helldivers felt like an event too. Like eventually
Yeah.
it just got to the point where everybody was like, "Oh, I gotta play this game," and you can get people to pay for something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like Sony is definitely going to have to reevaluate some things, but who knows? Maybe things could turn around in some way when the full release drops and like word of mouth spreads, and maybe if more people talk about it and say good things, maybe that'll draw more people to it. But hey, for right now, I guess it's kind of just a wait and see thing.
Yeah, it's a wait and see thing, but what I also think it depends on what Sony chooses to do, since they make it clear that they got their backs on this game in the intro with the whole PlayStation symbols and their characters and the thing, like the Marvel thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as long as they support it after release and do what they're supposed to do, I think the game can make it. But if they choose to just let that thing flop for like 3 months and not do nothing with it, kiss that game goodbye. $10 bargain bin game at that point.
I mean, it'll go free to play before that, quite frankly. Devin, you talked about this game. You had like a little mild comment, and it makes me think that you didn't think very highly of this game at all.
Well, I watched Rakeem play it. I hadn't tried it for myself, but I did watch him play a bit of it. And the only thing I could just think of was like it's missing some spice to it. Like watching him play it, like it didn't. I don't know. It just didn't have this like oomph to it. And then like
You
one
want
thing,
Hyperscape back, huh?
man. I don't know, man. We get they bring out all these games and they kill, it's like, and we get like not Call of Duty with a XDefiant garbage game. Anyway, but I don't know. So first off, the thing with me is like it was kind of weird because when they first revealed this game, I don't think there was any speaks and like rumors of like this was gonna be a multiplayer. I think most people thinking like this was like a single player narrative experience, right?
No, this was announced as a multiplayer game from Jump. Back when they did that really shitty trailer last year for
With
was
the
it
ship?
PlayStation Showcase or whatever?
Yeah.
With the
Oh
ship.
yeah.
From Jump, they were like, "This is multiplayer," which was baffling then because they were putting all these Easter eggs and things in there, and I'm like, "Yeah, but nobody would care about that for a multiplayer game. That's suggesting story." And then you see what they had with the story.
See, that's why I was confused. That's why I didn't really know it was a multiplayer. I was like, because that trailer just. Most multiplayer games now, you know what they are from the trailer. I forgot what the game was. We saw a trailer of it was like CG, but it was like the team shooting and they're running and sliding on this stuff and they're throwing out. You know what it's gonna be. That gave me like, no, not that. This is like kind of had the finals kind of vibe to it.
Splitgate?
Nah, not Splitgate. It was just like kind of urban style. But yeah, that's why I'm like. So this is a multiplayer. This is a hero shooter.
Fair Games, is it?
The one.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, Fair Games. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And it's like also the fact remains that you have Overwatch, which is you can play it for free. I know Overwatch 2 wasn't received the best, and you also have Overwatch at home with Paladins, and I had a lot of fun with Paladins, which is also another very competent hero shooter. So it's like now you're gonna make another game that you have to pay 40 for when you got, these other games that have been out for a while and still pretty solid. So it's like, what does this have to bring to the table that's new? It kind of feels like another Battleborn situation, to be honest. Because it has a unique style. The visuals are great. The characters look pretty cool, and I don't know. I don't know, man. I just think the marketing and the timing is just off. Like you announce like, well, you show what it is, show the gameplay. Now all it's coming out. It's like, bro, you can't bring the game out this soon to have one beta. Like this game needs at least, I think, like Keem said, 2 or 3 betas, or I think Sage said 2 or 3 betas. And then let it ride. Don't just like this one beta, then it's out. It's like, bro, like you need to let a game like this breathe.
We got to move on to the next topic, but I'll say this: it is another topic that we could have another day. Is the art of the shadow drop dead, or like a quick release.
We can talk about that
because the high five proved that it's still rocking. You just gotta
that died though. Like that didn't perform well enough for them, debatably, because like I've seen some people say basically the reason why they got rid of that was that it just didn't fit in the Microsoft's plans. Like that development studio didn't fit into what Microsoft was trying to do, and so they were going to get rid of it regardless. So that's up for like maybe it's that, or maybe it just didn't perform well enough. And people, because like as soon as Hi-Fi Rush, as soon as they announced Tango GameWorks was getting shut down, I saw people go that they send it out to die. Like fuck a shadow drop, that they actually just send it out to die. And I was like, maybe, I don't know. Like people loved it. The people who did play it loved it, but like the question was there enough people to play it, and did not enough people play it because there wasn't enough hype built around it, because it was 6, 8, 9 months of release time. I don't know.
I got two things to say about that one.
What's that?
Number one, it was released on the COD station, on the COD box, and number two,
on the COD station.
You can play it on Game Pass.
You could play it on Game Pass, so I don't know. Like
like we talked about last week. I ain't gonna say too much, but just the fact that it was like, hey, this is another first party title put on Game Pass, play free, and like most people probably played it for free.
Yeah, but I mean, like they wanted that. They wanted people to play it for. In fact, that was the thing people were talking about, and I'm not gonna go too much longer on this, but I'll just say like they wanted that was the thing that people talked about, like, oh, you have the big games to make people go get Game Pass, and and they can basically be the reason why you can make games like Hi-Fi Rush, and they don't have to perform as well because you have like the big tentpole games like your Avowed, or like your Indiana Jones, or like your Call of Duty. But next up, we got to talk Evo for a little bit. We're on the wrong day for this. Of course, we record on Saturday. But there have been a few Evo announcements. Was it Beetlejuice and Samurai Jack coming to Multiverses?
Yeah.
And then the other big announcement is that there are like a billion fucking SNK games, apparently.
It's insane.
Including
right?
Including like a Samurai Showdown RPG, and a confirmation that we're going to have Art of Fighting come back. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, who's even asking for Art of Fighting to come back in the first place? And so I guess I want to get y'all's quick thoughts. Y'all are the fighting game fans, not me. And so I just want to know what y'all think. Rakeem, where do you stand right now? Like, which one are you more excited for, the Sam Show RPG or Art of Fighting?
Sam Show RPG by far. I'm a Samurai Showdown fan. I actually know about the old Sam Show RPG from the 90s, like the turn-based game, but I never got to play it. I always wanted to. So this is like almost a second coming for me for them, like a Samurai Showdown RPG. I always like the aesthetic of Samurai Showdown, the character designs, the battles, the special arts. So that universe is something I like. Art of Fighting, I don't have that much of a connection to. It's cool to have it back. It feels like they're diversifying themselves away from just being King of Fighters, which is probably a good thing. It's okay for a studio to have multiple games. Probably healthier too, because you might have a downturn in one game and then this other game has an upswing. Currently, the big focus is clearly on Garo, Fatal Fury next year, and that game looks really good, like really good. I remember like when I watched, I was like, yo, this could be the one. This got everything. It's got the mechanical elements, the artistic elements. It looks good, it plays good, sounds good. Like this could be a big hit for them. And I feel like the success of that game could help out with the other games as well. But I'm more excited overall, just in general. I'm just more excited about the Sam Show announcement. I see some of the other announcements about like the DLC characters. That's cool. I don't really play King of Fighters like that, but the Sam Show announcement, I'm definitely down for. Oh no, with Kevin for Garo as well. So I'm happy. Another classic Garo character is in the game, so we'll get to see him. So that's cool.
What about you, Devin? Art of Fighting or the Sam Show RPG?
I actually I didn't see the Sam Show reveal or the Art of Fighting. I
Oh,
saw like,
There's no
there
real
wasn't
reveal,
necessarily a
like as far as like
reveal.
trailers. They're
oh,
just
they
telling
just
you about it.
okay,
They were just
okay,
like, hey, we thinking about that. Like that's down the road.
These
okay.
things is in the works.
Probably for me, I didn't play Art of Fighting a lot. I played Sam Show a little bit. An RPG though's got my intrigue. I know I love RPGs, and I mean Sam Show. That's an interesting one to like take a universe and take characters and make an RPG off of, which I didn't even know they had an RPG previously.
They
So
did.
that'd be pretty dope to see.
Yeah, the RPG was I think on PS1, if I remember correctly when I looked this
I
up.
believe
What
so.
is that?
Yeah,
It's old.
I mean,
yeah,
that
it
makes
is
sense.
old. It's quite
Yeah.
old.
But remember, y'all, the internet.
I mean, yeah, if you want to play it, it's out there for you to play it. I
That's
guarantee it.
true.
Will, what about you, man? Where do you stand? Like, what was the most exciting SNK announcement for you?
Man, they cover spaces. I'm definitely looking forward to that Sam Show RPG, and I'm definitely looking forward to the Art of Fighting because I do have history with that because I did play the original Art of Fighting on the SNES back then as a kid. I did play that, and I did, finagle my way into playing the other Art of Fighting games on my laptop. If you know, you know. Because wasn't nobody finna buy no $300 cartridge. Yeah, that Neo Geo was nothing to be played with. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the RPG. I was super shocked, really, by them re-releasing SVC Chaos, which was like a
Yes.
super,
Shocking.
which got real middle of the road reviews on it, and it's here with online net play. And I'm just
That
like,
game was not received well.
it was
Oh,
not,
this is
bro.
for the sickos.
It
Yeah,
is
this
for
for
the
the-
sickos.
It
This
is.
is it.
That's that game. Yeah, it's back out. It's actually out right now. People are playing it, and it's $20 if you're looking to play it. But it's out. And then them announcing my guy for City of the Wolves, Kevin Ryan. I'm
Kevin
glad
Ryan.
he's back. Explosive policeman. I'm trying to play that. He was busted in Mark of the Wolves. I'm sure he's gonna be busted in City of the Wolves.
Yeah,
So,
he looks
but that
he
RPG
looks
looks
really
great.
he looks really different in 3D though. Like
He
compared
really
to
do.
compared
He
to other
really
characters,
different.
he looks really different.
He does, man. Like something didn't carry over correctly or something. But he in the game. He in the game, and I'm glad he's back. He looks great. Like he's gonna play like a lot of fun. I'm ready for it. But that Sam Show action RPG they talking about doing, I want that. I'm looking to see what they do with that. I wonder what setting, what game are we gonna be going for? What storyline? What villain we looking at? Because I love the Sam Show fighting games too.
Yeah.
I guess I'll chip in on this for just a second, and then I'm gonna let Terrence talk about whatever SNK announcement stood out the most to him. But I will say I always thought fighting games had like some very fascinating universes, and I feel like they're woefully underutilized for the most part. The
You are not
closest we've
lying.
ever gotten,
You was definitely
right?
not lying.
The closest we've ever gotten is something like Mortal Kombat with like their deep story modes, or something like World Tour mode in Street Fighter 6. But even that is still kind of surface level compared to what they could do. And like, it wouldn't be that hard in theory to do, for instance, say a King of Fighters fighting game, and then on the side do like a King of Fighters RPG or something like that, where you got to see more of the world and like introduce and interact with more of the characters. Rakeem, what's up?
Yeah, there was a period of time when fighting game developers were really experimenting with that around the PS2 era.
Man, you read my mind on that because I was definitely going to say that.
But yeah, like that was definitely. I remember like what Soul Calibur had a spinoff, like a beat 'em up kind of spinoff.
Tekken had a couple. They weren't
sure
very
did.
good, but they did have a couple. And then of course MK had Shaolin Monks.
MK had Shaolin Monks. I believe Guilty Gear had a beat 'em up style game back
Guilty
then
Gear,
too.
What was it?
Isuka.
Isuka, yeah, that's what it was.
Isuka.
Yeah, that was a time when they did experiment with like expanding the universe in different games. The problem was that, and the majority of those games were not received well. Like
they were very mid.
Because those developers had never made those types of games before, and so they just were kind of woefully unprepared for just trying to translate their fighting game knowledge into a different genre. Yeah.
Hell, you would think sense. Like what you would wonder like what's holding NetherRealm back from just doing another Shaolin Monks, because I mean that would do well for them, you would think.
Truthfully, you would.
I did hear NetherRealm had plans on doing something that was set outside of the fighting games. I forget what they said, something about maybe using like either Scorpio or Sub-Zero. So that might be what you can look forward to in the future. But yeah, Terrence, what about you, man? What SNK announcement stood out the most to you so far?
Real quick, I'll just say, SVC Chaos, that coming back, and now that's how you do a shadow drop. I think something like this where it's like a smaller game and it's something that could easily get lost in the sauce, like among like other announcements. If you just go ahead and say like, hey, this is out, you can play it now. I think that's how you should do a shadow drop. So I think that just being revealed and it coming out of nowhere and then them just telling you, hey, you can play this today. I think that was great. The other stuff they announced, of course, like you all said, the new character for City of Wolves. I mean, that game is looking amazing. Can't wait to play that next year. They announced Vice and Mature for King of Fighters 15.
Oh, yeah,
I think those are great DLC choices. I'm very curious to see what the season pass for the next season pass for KOF is going to look like, because obviously a lot of people would think with City of Wolves on the way that KOF 15 is probably going to get kind of left by the wayside, but the developers have confirmed they are still working on it, so that's great to see that there's opportunity for maybe even more fan favorite characters, maybe even a guest character, who knows. But yeah. My favorite announcement was the SVC Chaos one, just because that was so unexpected, and it further shows that Capcom and SNK, they're cool again. The possibilities are open. Like we're in, like Maximilian says now, we're in the one timeline where MVC is back. Capcom and SNK, they're cool again. So this versus stuff, it can happen again. Had you like 5 years ago, it wasn't going to happen. But now we're all cool. So
did see also Capcom said that their doors open as far as crossover stuff. So I mean, now the ball is in Marvel's court, so they're gonna have to. I mean, like if you're part of the MVC fan base, like the time to bug Capcom is now officially over. It's time to go bother Disney and Marvel. Like, hey, Capcom said they was open. What's up? It's time to go do that.
I think once though, like people just need to go and buy that collection, and once we show strong sales for that collection, I think that'll also convince Marvel as well. It's like, okay, this is something worth revisiting.
Okay, so let's go ahead and shift topics one more time. Right before we talk about our major topic for the week, Batman Forever. Right now, I want to talk about something that came out earlier this week, and it kind of caught me by surprise. Absolute DC. I don't know how many of y'all had a chance to read up on this, but DC is doing their Marvel impression right now, and they're creating an alternate universe called Absolute DC. The point of it is to create like a new universe that fans can get in at the ground floor on. You'll get to see the origins, the first time they meet villains, so on and so forth. It's like everything's going to start with a new number one, and you won't have to worry about, how's this relate to these comic books from back in the past? None of that matters. It's just pick up these books. The base idea of giving people an easy in, it makes perfect sense to me. The details, I'll just read them off. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to give my thoughts yet. I'm just going to ask y'all what y'all think first. But let's just start with the details. It's implied Darkseid is responsible for this universe. They have a little bit of a synopsis. They talk about how a greater threat looms on the horizon. DC's biggest icons come of age in this absolute universe with fewer advantages while facing greater opposition than ever before and retaining their heroism that continues to inspire and entertain fans. But can they protect the light that shines inside them when the world in which they live is hurtling towards a terrible destiny? You've got right now just 3 issues, 3 comics. There's Absolute Batman. There's a description for Absolute Batman. Fans will be introduced to a version of the Dark Knight that doesn't have the money, the mansion, or the butler of his Coraline counterpart. For Absolute Wonder Woman, for Diana, there is no island paradise, no sisterhood to shape her, nor a mission of peace. So what is the purpose of an Amazon warrior in this new universe? And then for Absolute Superman, this Superman has no family, no fortress of solitude, and no home. Will he still stand for truth, justice, and a better tomorrow in this new universe? Rakeem, you got some interesting reactions, facial reactions. I want to know what you think first.
This feel like the time when I saw Soul Eater not for the first time. It's like DC not, like Batman not, Superman not, Wonder Woman not. So I get the gist of the idea is like if you strip the heroes away from what they're comfortable with, at their core, are they still the same person? And how does heroism peek through without the advantages they had of the cultures they came from, which shaped them? So that seems to be the premise of the story. That is a cool idea. The execution is what I'm wondering about, because I feel like if this is executed well, this could be well received if it's done correctly. But if you do it wrong and you just write the characters differently, people are like, why just make new characters? You could have just made a new universe, new characters. So I'm actually it sounded weird when I heard it, but I'm gonna say this. I think I'm gonna be a little more optimistic on the idea of it. Trying something new with DC characters, I don't think it's a bad idea. They definitely, the absolute title though, they really are copying Marvel. That's crazy. How
Ultimate Marvel, absolute DC. Like, all right,
I was like, okay, DC. I did want to ask you, Sage, how often do they do these big reset events like this?
Well, see, this is, I mean, like, they've never done anything like this. And arguably,
Okay.
in fact, I have argued this for like about a decade now. Arguably, they should have done this a long time ago. When they did DC New 52, that wasn't a reset. That was a proper reset. Like, okay, we're going to take these characters, we're going to make them young. There isn't a way, because like when these three ongoings, when these three comics come out in October, and I think early November for Superman, when these three comics come out in October, that'll be a separate universe. If you don't like that, you can go read the normal stuff and you won't have to like worry about this other stuff at all. So this is the first time they've ever done this. Like they've made other attempts at like stuff kind of like this in the vein of this. Like there's DC All Star or All Star DC, but that was like that turned into a vanity project where it's like, oh, these well-known writers and artists want to work together on like some out of continuity type stuff. There was DC Earth 1. That was like, instead of doing monthly comics, they were just going to be graphic novels. They were going to be like, they were going to start as trades. There was never going to be like in other words, like, what if we told stories in anime through movies as opposed to like a weekly episode or something like that? This was DC Earth 1 would have been the equivalent of that. They've never done anything like this before. So I don't know how well it's going to turn out. I hope that they don't, just because like the creator, there is another article from like the guy that spearheaded this, and I don't know how that's gonna, like, he talked about like basically he just wanted a reason to make people excited to check out DC Comics again. And I'm like, that's cool, but do you know what you're doing, how much power you have right now, that you've gotten them effectively to create an entire alternate universe where you can tell whatever stories you want to tell? And are you going far enough in some ways and too far in other ways? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Devin, what you got for me, man? What did you think hearing all of that?
I think it sounds like an interesting idea. The first thing I thought about, especially when I heard like Superman, I always like seeing like the alternate versions of characters, alternate universes. I remember watching Flashpoint Paradox and the Superman they had in that new universe where he was like feeble. I think he was like captured and never like been
never had
exposed to the
sun.
sun.
Right.
I was like, man, this is you're not used to seeing this, but it's like it's kind of cool just to, kind of get away from that for a bit, because it was just like that was just for like for a movie for a time. You go to a different dimension. You got Thomas Wayne over here got the dual glocked up pistols.
Blicky.
Like, it's just kind of cool to see those different dynamics, because it's like, Batman doesn't use weapons like that. So it's like just to see Batman like, hey, I don't care. I'm gonna shoot you. My son, he don't do it, but I'll shoot you. So but this sounds pretty cool, and also giving people a chance to kind of I guess get a fresh look on it that haven't been like deep into it. So it's a lot of stuff I still see now. I'm like, oh, I didn't know this. I didn't know this character. So it's like just giving people the outlet to see, okay, we can kind of learn about this stuff without having to go back through an archive of DC stuff. Again, like Rakeem said, as long as the execution is done well, I think this could be an interesting idea.
Okay. Will, what about you, man? What did you think hearing all of that?
After hearing all that, once again, I'm agreeing with Keem. It's in the execution, because hearing that they kind of taking away those like things away from these characters and being like, hey, this is how they're gonna operate this time. I hear that about Superman. I'm just like, I'm scared of what he might do.
Yeah, because he ain't gonna have no kids to raise him. So this is like, hey,
that's what I'm saying.
He gonna have to just be a good person.
Might turn
like he just winging it out here. Like he don't have the kids to raise him to be at least 80% human. He just out here on Kryptonian. He's standing on Kryptonian business, I guess.
Kryptonian.
So that's scary to think about. And then I'm thinking about Wonder Woman not having what she has, and I'm just like, so does the lasso of truth just turn into the lasso of pain or some shit? I don't know.
If you look at the promo art they got, ain't no lasso.
Ain't no lasso.
Ain't no
Like
lasso.
they got two different promo arts. They got one of her standing with Batman and Superman, and she just got Final Fantasy VII Cloud Buster Sword. That's all she got. She ain't got nothing else. Ain't no lasso. So
Devin said,
I guess
that
if they're
sounds good.
stripping everything away, then I guess there was no way for her to get the lasso like she has previously. So I don't know.
man,
Did
fuck
she have
that.
some material
I
put
bet
in the
Batman gonna have a battle ring. You said what, Devin?
Said, was there some material in that sword?
Was there material in the? Damn.
Wonder Beam.
Yeah, she
All
summoned
right,
Zeus.
bro. Yeah, she. Yeah, I don't know, bro. I'm scared. I'm scared about what they might have them doing, but it's all in the execution, man. It's really all in the execution of how they put them out here.
Terrence,
I'm
where
sorry.
would you stand on this?
I'm looking at the image, bro. That's scary to see Wonder Woman with that big ass sword.
I'll say that looking at I'll just say from the character designs, those are interesting in and of themselves. Like Superman's look is a choice. Batman, I mean, Batman has so many variations that, one more is like whatever. Wonder Woman, I'll say this. I know you and Tim were talking about this in the Discord, Sage. I will say that Wonder Woman's design is interesting in that it feels like them kind of giving her edge in a way that they've always given like how Superman, Batman, they've always been given like something to give them like edge or make them look darker, whereas like Wonder Woman, not quite in the same way. I mean, maybe there has been like some darker version of Wonder Woman that they've given her, but it's not to the extent that they do with Superman or Batman. With her having like the tattoos and having the sword and everything, it's an interesting look. I mean, it's one of those things where we'll see how it's like actually pulled off when the combat actually starts. But this is meant to be a way to get new readers in, right? Like that's really the point of this, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which wasn't that kind of also what they were trying to do with the New 52?
Yeah,
not
but
in
I
the
mean,
same
like
way.
it was, but like that was a decade ago.
Yeah.
And so like even if of course they changed the continuity a couple of times since then, but even if they hadn't, that was the problem that Ultimate Marvel ran into eventually, where they had Ultimate Marvel from like 2000 to 2015, and then at one point somebody stopped and said, "Wait a minute, it's just as hard to get into this as it is to get into the OG universe."
Yeah.
And so that's when they got rid of it. And so that's the same problem you run into with the New 52. That was in 2012. And so now you need something new to get people in.
Okay. Well, in that respect, then, yeah. I guess I hope that it doesn't have the issues that New 52 had, because just to my understanding, when New 52 started, it was very divisive, and I hope that they don't run into the same problem here. This, like you all said, this is one of those we'll have to see how it's executed. So it's more of like a wait and see kind of thing. I hope it brings in new readers. I really do, because that is something that is important, especially in the realm of comics where it feels like the interest has kind of waned. So if it is possible for them to bring in new readers, then good on DC. But it is going to come down to the execution.
I want to say one thing real quick. Oh, you go ahead, say.
What's up, Devin?
I just want to. I was looking at the image. Is Batman on them on them Skittles?
Yeah.
Because this image
Vitamin S.
Said that.
Bro,
You're not
that Bane? Is it just Bane now?
To the other one.
That's Bane.
Like
Bane.
A lot of people have made comparisons to that old Rob Liefeld Captain America.
Oh,
where he's sitting there with that big gigantic barrel,
big ass chest. Yeah,
I'm looking at his legs. His legs are humongous.
He is gigantic.
This man getting to it. He bigger than Superman.
I don't really like any of what I've seen here. Like they're leading off with the explanations on who the heroes aren't, but we don't have any idea who they are, and I don't like that. This is also a bit inside baseball because I know y'all aren't as big into comics, but I'll say that I don't like the creative team for Batman either. Scott Snyder was responsible for the New 52 Batman, and now he's responsible for Absolute Batman. And it's not so much that I dislike him. It's just my thing is, if you're reinventing Batman, why go to a guy who already reinvented Batman? Like, why not just reach out and get somebody new that hasn't done it before? And so, like, I don't know, like, as far as him being without his gadgets, I mean, like, they just did a whole thing where where Batman was without his money, and he still had they found a way to get him gadgets. They found a way to get this and that, and you barely really felt it. It just felt like he couldn't come up with like brand new high tech nonsense on some Iron Man type shit. But other than that, he felt like the same. And like really throughout the 80s and the 90s, there was a time where they were only thing he had was like his suit was bulletproof, and he was like, "Is it? Did I go out?
Yes,
Yeah,
Did I
you
go out?"
for a
froze.
Stop
second.
for a second.
You're
Yeah.
back now. You're back now.
You're back
Okay,
now.
I
You
was
stopped for like a
checking.
few, and then you came back.
Okay, I was checking because I looked at Keem and his face was. I was like, okay, don't worry about it. But yeah, I was just gonna say like, Batman, like it was a time period where all he had was like a bulletproof suit and it was like a flame
Mhm.
retardant suit, and that was it. And like he didn't really have any special gadgets. He just had the batarang. I used to read like these things that would tell you like what's in Batman's utility belt, and it would just be like some batarangs, a radio, and some cash just in case shit go bad or something. I'm like, oh, all right, I guess. It's kind of like going back to that. I have no notes on Superman. I don't really love that he doesn't have a family, but this would not be the first time he didn't have the Kents. The OG Superman was more alien than human. He did not have the Kents. He was just like they would show you that he was raised with the Kents for a little while, but then like before he even put on the Superman suit, the Kents died. And so he was just off on his own, doing his own thing. And so like I'm fine with that. Like this feels like it might be more of that. He was a good dude back then. He can be a good dude here. So I don't really care about that. My issue is with Wonder Woman and her being back to being Warrior Woman. I kind of disagree with Terrence a little bit. I feel like most of her big appearances outside of Justice League Unlimited was just her being like almost too harsh. Like you think about how she was in Injustice, she was like one of the biggest villains outside of Superman. You think about Flashpoint, where she was at war with Aquaman, and like so many people saw that Flashpoint movie. And so, like a lot of her portrayals, you have the 2017 movie, but like that shit is a memory now, especially because the second film sucked so bad that they basically killed that franchise. Like, I don't see that, I don't see there being a Wonder Woman 3. I think if they do Wonder Woman, they're starting over fresh. And so, like, I don't like the fact that we're seeing her again and she's got the Buster Sword. And the fact that so many people what I've seen for the most is like they don't like Batman, they don't like Superman, they do like. Like this is how I know DC has fucked up Wonder Woman because you shouldn't think of her as a person with weapons first, but as somebody that is compassionate, somebody that is radically kind. Yeah, she can fuck somebody up. She's as good of a fighter as Batman, almost as strong as
Mhm.
Superman. Nobody should be crossing nobody with that kind of power. But like she's always been about helping people first, taking away her mission of peace and all her compassion. I don't know. I was actually really upset about it at first, but then I thought about it. I was like, if she was in this new world killing a bunch of Nazis or something, I'd be like fine with it. So I don't know. Like, I mean, she did get her start in World War II after all. So like she started in
Yeah.
war. I will say right now I'm cautiously pessimistic. I know people usually say they're cautiously optimistic. No, no, no.
Optimistic.
I'm cautiously pessimistic. Marvel is redoing their Ultimate Universe, and so far it's been received pretty well. Ultimate Spider-Man is what people have been begging Marvel to do with Spider-Man. Ultimate Avengers, I've read a little bit of that. That's been pretty great. DC desperately needs to catch up. It's been Oof. It's been a while. I was just reading a little report on them and how they had lost the market share to not even Marvel, to like other companies, like Image and other companies are just eating away at their market share. And they seem like a distant second at best to Marvel now. And they're going to have
Mhm.
to step up and they need something new. A decade ago, New 52 was that new thing where they launched it and people were massively interested. And Aquaman outsold every Marvel book on the stands for like 3 months or something like that. That's how big the New 52 was. And this needs to be that where you're outselling everything for a while and you pick up because it it was also a rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing because not only did DC do better, all the other comic companies did better as well. And they need something like that to get people back into the comic book shops or back online buying comics online. So hopefully it
Okay.
works out. Um, so let's get to the big topic, man. Uh, let's get into what we're here for. Batman Forever. Okay, of course, the film released June 16th, 1995, had a budget of 100 million, a box office of 336 million, 336.6 million. So it still turned a big profit. but Returns made 270 million on 80 million, and the OG film made 410 million on like 50 million. So they've still never been anywhere close to as successful as the first movie. I do want to get y'all's thoughts, see what y'all think. So let's just do a double because we're not running short on time, but I don't want this to run to no 2 hours. So we'll just do both. What did you think of the film, and which was your favorite villain? Rakeem.
All right. So this is one of those films that even though I was a little boy, I saw this in theaters when it launched. So I have very vivid memories of this film. I've seen it multiple times. So I'm not unfamiliar with this film. Watching it back though, it's so weird to me how it feels like everybody else, like certain people in the film were told to feel like they really ham it up. Like they really lean into the comedy. They really went over the top. They really were expressive. And then Batman is like acting like his tone is like really normal compared to everybody else's, and it's like very noticeable that this juxtaposition. It feels like almost like they're in different films sometimes. It's kind of hard on a rewatch now. I mean, when I was 5, of course, anything Batman in the suit was good for me, but like now you kind of notice some of the blemishes in the film. There are some things I do like. I think like some of the set design was kind of cool in some places. I always liked the bad vehicles in this movie because you saw so many different ones in this one, from the Batwing and the boat, the Batmobile. Always liked the Batmobile design in this film. I enjoyed parts of Jim Carrey's performance. I think him as the Riddler started good, and then by the end, it felt like, all right, man, I get it, I get it.
My man
Two-Face
had
kind
like
of
5 different costume changes.
Yeah, the costume changes.
Talking about that.
Look at it. The costume changes were kind of cool. He was the main villain, so at least he had it. I will say, it felt like it was a little much on certain ends, but I did kind of like the fact watching it that it looked like Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones were having a good ass time playing these characters. They did not look like they were bored. They felt like they were like totally in tune to what they were doing. And if you got Jim Carrey in your movie, this was what you were going to get in 1995. Yeah. This is the type of characters he portrayed and what he was known for at that point. What you about to say, Sage?
It was wild. I was reading in the Wikipedia article, and apparently Tommy Lee Jones fucking hated Jim Carrey in this movie.
Really?
He was like, you're a fucking buffoon, and I don't want to be anywhere around you. And so they basically had to do a lot of their stuff separate because he just was so hard to deal with, supposedly. So
I can see that. It feels like he's a lot watching the film. Like from the beginning, as Edward Nygma being obsessed with Batman and being obsessed with Bruce Wayne at first, and then like turning slowly into the Riddler and like his obsession. Like it made sense from a character perspective, but like he was so over the top that it almost felt like, I remember our roommate Tyler's with us. He's like, it feels like I'm watching the Joker and not the Riddler.
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
man, you know what's crazy? I felt like that about Two-Face. I feel like Two-Face was like the Joker.
Yeah. But like it felt like there was a lot of that in this film where like everybody was kind of like really cartoonishly hulking it up in certain spots. And there were also parts of the film where it's like early parts with certain scenes with like Chris O'Donnell and Batman were having conversations about their families and stuff that was going on, where it felt like, okay, this tone is okay. This feels more natural, and like this how I feel the film should have been the entire time. The tone kind of just was all over the place. Overall though, so I won't be long, it just feels like it's kind of hokey in spots. A lot of the dialogue and stuff feels kind of dated. We talked about earlier before the film, like how women are portrayed in this film is just like eye candy and sex, and it's crazy. Like the first 5 minutes of the film, the psychologist lady wanted to bone Batman. It was so quick. Like it was so quick. I was like, bro, you just met him. It's ain't nothing even happened in the film yet. She already
I
on
need
it.
the
Used the bat signal to get him to get
facing him.
Yo,
right.
Yeah, that was
you know what? And that's another thing, but the bat signal thing where like she showed up and she was just wearing a robe and like a gown underneath, and then like seconds, like about a few minutes later, Gordon popped up there and he was also wearing a robe, and it implied subtly that like, well, I guess now I'm thinking that they were banging, but like what it also implied to me at the time was like, do y'all just live at the GCPD building? Like, what the fuck?
I mean, they're not doing anything else, so they might as well just live there.
Man,
Boy, you ain't
And
never.
Gotham
didn't
PD
do
is
shit.
like the most
Now, look.
absolutely useless police
Man,
department.
they
ever.
had
Next level
no presence in this film. Zero.
Ounce of it.
They had presence. When they turned on that damn bat signal, and then like you just saw Gordon just smiling and go, let's get it, Batman gonna
Jay-
save us all. I'm like,
Yo,
bro,
at
no
least
way.
the other films, like older films, kind of delved into like the corruption in GCPD and like the kind of tension between the police and Batman. They didn't do none of that. It was like, man, Batman, go, you got it.
This is almost corrupt in a different way, low key.
Yeah.
It was like Batman was so useful that it turned them all lazy,
Yeah.
and they don't want to
That
do
I
any
can
work
agree.
anymore.
That I
Yeah.
can agree with. That I can agree with. I didn't have a whole lot of notes. I thought I always forget this actor's name. The actor who played Batman.
Val
Oh,
Kilmer.
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer. I thought his performance was like
Yeah,
a little muted. But it felt because of how outlandish everyone else felt in this movie, he felt more natural and down to earth as Batman than a lot of the other characters, to some degree. They tried to delve into his mindset as Bruce Wayne. They kind of like this juxtaposition about dreams and the relationship he built with the psychologist, talking about his dreams and his own traumas. I felt that was a little clumsy. They didn't really do it. I don't know. It wasn't smooth in the transition. Like, I felt like it just kind of was spotty in places. He was just like talking to her one moment, like, my parents got killed when I was young, out of nowhere, and just starting to come. It just didn't feel natural. It felt like there was some pieces missing in the middle. Like they cut something out in the middle, and because they cut something, the pieces don't fit together as well. That's kind of how I felt. Like the editing kind of cut it out. But yeah, I thought his performance was okay. Chris O'Donnell as Robin is always hilarious to me because of how he just came in there, and Alfred let that man do whatever he wanted. It felt like at certain points.
Boy, did he.
He stole the car. He got a costume. And you need a sidekick. That man let that boy do whatever. It was wild. I always like the scene with them actually showing the flying Graysons, because you'll never see them in nothing else. So that was actually pretty cool, seeing the actual flying Graysons and like the accident and all that. I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Man, they did not try to make that subtle at all. Like in every other interpretation where you've seen the Graysons, it's always like behind the scenes, some shit happening, it's like really shady and shadowy, and like, I'm gonna put I'm gonna knife the ropes just a little bit, just enough so that when they put the right amount of pressure on it, they'll fall and die. There was none of that shit. Two-Face showed up and said, "Look, I'm about to kill everybody in this bitch unless I find Batman right now." And the Graysons was like, "Oh, I guess we'll sacrifice our life for this." It's like, God dang.
Grayson, like, they were superheroes, man. We some G's, man. We didn't go out like this. Chris O'Donnell saves it. Robin saves the day. Like, I'll say it to everybody. Comes back, his whole family's dead. That's rough. That's rough, bro.
Boy.
You saved a whole lot of people. You come back, your family dead. I thought he was
heavy bomb.
It's sad too. Like this will be my end. I don't want to go long at this point, but it's kind of sad too that like this and Batman and Robin, it's like the last time you'll actually see Robin in films like since
ever.
Really.
Oh yeah.
So this is it.
I think Batman and Robin comes out 97, I believe, like
Something
2 years
that,
later.
yeah.
And so like that means we haven't seen, like in 3 years, it'll be 20 years since we've seen Robin or Batgirl or anybody that isn't Batman in these films. Crazy.
Yeah. That's crazy. But overall, it's a film. Watching it back, it has a lot of issues. It's weird because I feel like I like Jim Carrey's performance at parts, and some parts it's too much. It's just like it's a weird fit, but it's okay. I feel like it's more of like, for me, like a 6 at best. I can't really go higher than that. It's just not that great of a film. There are parts I enjoy, but it's kind of hard to like. I don't just enjoy it the same way as I did when I was 5. When I was 5, it was godlike,
Man,
God.
wasn't it though? Because I owned this on VHS when I was a kid, and I watched this film so many times. And it's crazy. I watched it so many times, but it was so long ago that I didn't remember a single plot point from this movie. Not anything. So watching it, going in, it was like watching a brand new movie. This movie is cartoonish from the jump. It completely shifts tone. Like it's a minute in, and Wayne suits up comes out in the Batman outfit, and Alfred's like, "Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?" And he's like, "I'll get drive-through." And I'm like, "All right, well, I know what kind of movie I'm watching." Like, you set the tone pretty much instantly. Holy fuck! I do like the fact that the tech is now much closer to what you'd expect of Batman. The other movies, everything was kind of low tech. Now he's got Batman tech everywhere and everything. Like, he goes to Wayne Enterprises, and he's there. And like, as soon as they need him, he hops into like this fucking pod or whatever that takes him to like the nearest Batcave entrance. I thought that was really cool. One of my complaints about the first film was Joker being like that classic Joker line. Where does he get those wonderful toys? But he really only had the grappling hook that whole movie. I think he might have threw out the Batarang like once or twice, but it was never doing anything impressive. This movie, he's got toys everywhere, and it's so cool. I think Val Kilmer fits Bruce Wayne better than Michael Keaton does. That might be something of a hot take. But like, Keaton was in a better film in Batman Returns, but Kilmer just looks and sounds the part way better.
Yeah.
Like, he looks suave, he looks cool. When you see him in the suit, you're like, fuck yeah, let's go. So like, I like that a lot. The Jim Carrey performance is hilarious. He just gets increasingly more unhinged. It's funny after he gets that initial intelligence boost. I guess that's all he needed because he became less awkward. Like, he went from having like the vibes of a sweaty incel to wearing that suave ass suit, and he was looking actually kind of cool and shit until like they brought up how Batman was like the real guy. Like, until Bruce Wayne showed up, and that's when he was like, "Damn it, fuck this shit." Also, I see what Keem's talking about with the acting, because there's this part where he's at the Edward Nygma shindig, and he's being interviewed by this woman, and she's like, "How does it feel to be the most eligible bachelor in Gotham?" And then she doesn't pause. There's no period at the end of her sentence. She says, "How does it feel to be the most eligible bachelor in Gotham?" Oh, there's Bruce Wayne. And I was like, what the fuck is this dialogue?
Hey, the dude who got captured in the bank vault with Batman, his acting was also very hokey too.
So that was clearly a lot of overdubbing in this movie. Like, a lot. You could tell at certain points that it was heavily overdubbed, probably because of how the scene was. They couldn't get the sound to work right, so they had to overdub it later, which makes perfect sense. But it was really noticeable. Like, the part about like, "Oh my God, the acid, holy crap." It was like so much louder than everything else that was going. Like, bro, it was crazy.
Bad ADR. Chase Meridian. It does not matter. Does not matter. She's not a character. She is just there to look hot and pant after Batman to remind you of how hot Batman is again.
Yeah.
Like, if they did this movie with this script today, they would have had to apologize on opening week. Like, box office opening week, they'd have been like, "Oh, we're sorry. We did not realize we had fucked up like that." Like, if you could find a woman willing to do this at all. Like, at one point, she kind of describes her job as like a borderline sex thing. Like, "Oh, I got into this because I like bad boys, the wrong kind of men. I mean, like, look at my job." And I was like, whoa, what the fuck is this, right? Like, what's going on? And then also, Bruce just need to give up this Batman shit. He visiting women in the middle of the night. Just wrap it up, man. Like, you don't need to be Batman. You need to get laid.
He said that in the film. He said that in the movie. Remember, he said, "I'm gonna give up being Batman. Turn the lights off. I'm gonna tell him the truth." Say it never works out. That's why he can't do it.
I was just about to say, if nothing else, like, I said that as he snuck in, and then like 5 minutes later, I was like, "Damn, Bruce, listen to me," because I said, "Just go get some pussy and stop being Batman." And Bruce was like, "You right. And I was like, fuck. And it's just such an undercooked romance, just like every other. Like, the most believable one was definitely Batman Returns. Like, that one was kind of believable. This one is like by far the worst. The first one was not. It was, they at least tried a little bit in the first movie. They tried a lot in the second movie. They didn't try it all in this movie. It's just bad. I like Two-Face. Two-Face, actually, he felt crazy. He felt deep, like, not unhinged. He felt crazy because, like, instead of doing what he, like, there's that part where they had not snuck into, they blew the doors off of the Wayne Manor. They're in there doing whatever the fuck they want to do, and instead of him doing whatever he wanted to do, he's just flipping the coin, and he's getting the wrong answer. He's getting the good answer over and over again. And like, a normal person would just get up and be like, "All right, I'm finna start causing chaos." But nope, he had to get that the right side, the scratched up side, and finally he got it. And I was like, "Oh fuck." And it's really funny, but it just proves how broken his brain is. One thing I like in this movie that I find surprising, but like, at first I was like, "Huh, this does make sense." I like how Batman was okay with Robin killing. Like, I don't like it for Batman in general, but I like it for this movie because canonically, Batman has been killing people left and right since the OG film. Like when he dropped that bomb off in the fucking that factory and just left and it exploded and shit, and he didn't give a fuck.
Mhm.
Or like the one time he like dropped the dude down the he dropped the what was it, like some dynamite down there with like a dude that had just fallen down there
Oh
and let that
yeah.
dude die.
Oh yeah.
He didn't
Yeah,
give
I
a
know
damn.
what you're talking
Like
about.
he's been killing people for all these movies, and so like he can object to Robin getting consumed by revenge, but he can't object to Robin killing. And so there's a point where Chris O'Donnell is like, "Hey man, I gotta let you know, I might still kill Two-Face." And then Bruce was like, "Bro, you do what you gotta do. What you want me to tell you, bro? Like it's your life. Man gotta live his own life. Ain't that what you told me? Ain't that what you said your dad told you, even though you clearly old enough to raise some damn kids?" Like, man, Chris
Chris
O'Donnell
O'Donnell's
was
so old.
25 when this movie was released, and he looked every day of 35. Like Bruce taking him in, and I'm like, you look like you ought to be on your second kid, Chris. What the fuck going on? Like every time I saw him, I was like writing notes, and every time I wrote a note, I just added another kid and another ex-wife because I was like, this motherfucker look old as hell. Why are you in this? Like, this is not this Nightwing age. Like he should have just been Nightwing. They should have
Yeah.
started with Nightwing because he was way too old to be talking about some Robin. And it was, oh, this is not Batman, this Bat Boy. I'm like, what boy looked like that? Like
Dick
he was
Grayson, college
buff.
student.
I actually Bruce did say Dick Grayson, college student, but he was kind of subtly implying that Dick was like maybe a year off from college. You know, he just needed like he's 16,
Yeah.
17. That nigga looked 30. What's that Bad Boys? Shit, nigga, you look at least
You look
30.
30.
Like, oh, fuck no, man. I'm not gonna go too much longer. I'm gonna say this movie's like a 5 out of 10. I have no reason to hate it, but I have a few reasons to love it. Its most significant moment is what Keen basically said. It's like it's the 4th Batman film ever out of like what has to be what like 9 or 10, somewhere up in there. But like it's one of 2 films to have Robin in it, and there've been a whole other trilogy after this. There's a whole new trilogy starting, and we still haven't seen a Robin. Like the only we might, I guess we'll get Robin in like a year or two because they got Batman and Robin coming out soon.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't seen a Robin since then, so I'm just happy to have Robin for at least a few minutes, even if he wasn't nothing like the Robin that you would know. He's actually a lot more like Jason Todd. How they used to write Jason Todd in the '80s. So
He feels way
you know,
more like Jason Todd.
he even stole the Batmobile. He was like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna go out on the tour. I'd have beat that
Bruh.
man ass." I'm
This
sorry.
is kind of like during that time where they kind of blended them together a lot, right? Because even
They
the
really
animated
did.
series did that, where it's like they give Dick Tim isms
Well, no.
and
Well, Dick was just Dick in the cartoon.
yeah,
But I tell you who wasn't. Tim Drake was Tim Drake and Jason Todd. And he was
Yeah.
mostly Jason Todd.
yeah. I guess that's what I mean. It's like, yeah, they
Wow.
give like different Robins certain characteristics that one would have, and yeah,
Yep. And the other thing I'll say before I pass it off to you, Terrence, is man, how is it possible that Batman the animated series did a better Riddler story than this?
that was going to
You know,
be a
if
talking
you're
point of
so
mine.
smart, why aren't you rich? I'm gonna pass it on to you then.
Oh man. So I'll say that I see this movie in pretty much kind of I see it in the same way as the other two in terms of it has cool moments and plot ideas, but it just doesn't execute on them in the best way. The other two movies, Batman 89 and Batman Returns, they are better. But this one, yeah, it could have been so much better. For one, you could tell that with this movie, they were definitely trying to go at this from more of a marketing and toy selling angle than the other two. Is like
yeah.
out is the creepy factor of Batman Returns and like the gothic looking style of just Gotham in general.
89.
Like the production design lost all the gothic flair and like the noir flair. Pretty much this is more like just fantastical Batman. And you know,
It's a little claustrophobic, but that's about all I can say as far as like it being fearsome.
yeah, exactly. And you know what? They knew what they wanted this to be. They want this to be a much more marketable movie, so I can understand why they changed in that regard. It does make it where Gotham doesn't look as interesting or like doesn't stand out as much. Gotham just kind of like looks like just some whatever city in this one. It just doesn't have as much character. Which I guess, you know, speaking of character, talk about all the casting. I do agree with you, Sage. I don't think that that's too much of a hot take. I think that Val Kilmer, what I'll say is, I feel like he has the better stature for Batman and Bruce Wayne. Like physically, like looks wise, I see him as Bruce Wayne and Batman more than I see Keaton. But Keaton has more of the charisma. And so if you combine like the charisma with the stature of Val Kilmer, I think that you would have gotten like essentially like a really good performance. But yeah, Val Kilmer here, I mean,
like neither of them was that like they're a little charismatic, but like I feel like the way that these women be falling over here, I'm like they just falling over you because you rich.
Yeah,
that's it. Like you ain't got neither of them had any, as the kids would say, riz.
Yeah, and a part of that is just the writing, the way these movies are written. They don't really do Batman any favors, to be honest. Yeah, with Nicole Kidman's character, Dr. Meridian, she was definitely like one of the worst characters, if not the worst character in this movie, just because her characterization was just not handled well at all. Like practically when she was just introduced as a way to have someone like Batman in the movie. She was just she was a love interest above all else and a character at the least. At the very last, they just did not care about building her up and all. And really, like her relationship, like her liking Batman and Bruce Wayne, really when you think about it, it's just completely unethical. It's like I was telling you all before the podcast, they were trying to, it feels like they kind of wanted to do like a Harley Quinn angle where, you know, with Harley Quinn, she's a psychiatrist who falls in love with Joker, and that's a completely unethical relationship, but it also like drives Harley crazy essentially. In this sense, it's like she likes Batman because she sees him as like a project. Like I can fix him in a sense. That's really what it feels like. And almost the same with Bruce Wayne. When Bruce Wayne starts confessing his, you know, secrets, she's like, you know, tell me more. You know, I'm tell me more. Like she gets more interested at that point.
Some unethical shit.
Yeah. So honestly, I feel like this movie would have been better if she wasn't even in it. Yeah, that's a big problem with this movie. It's just the characterization. There's so much that is left to be desired. Like even Two-Face, I do like Tommy Lee Jones' performance, but it feels like they could have done more. Like Two-Face is just kind of like shown, and they don't really do much with him in terms of like giving him like a backstory. You could argue that, you know, we didn't really need that, and most of that went to Riddler, which, you know, yeah, Jim Carrey's performance is what you expect for the 90s. It is what it is. It's not really something I can go too hard on, just because that was the force that Jim Carrey was in the 90s. That's what you were going to get. It is what it is. I will say that I think this movie could have been better if Bruce and Dick's relationship was more of the focal point from jump. It feels like we get to like Dick being introduced too late in the movie. Like had he been introduced sooner, I feel like there could have been more of that like character building between he and
Bruce needed a date to go there first.
Yeah, just the idea of them becoming companions, them dealing with very similar struggles. I feel like more of that could have been dived into. But yeah, this movie just didn't know how to do that. Also, Alfred sucks at keeping the Batcave a secret.
Thank you.
In every single movie, he is like messed up in some way and just exposed the Batcave for everybody to see. And it's just like, dude, what are you doing?
In the first place, why is Chris O'Donnell asking about all these locked doors? Like, it ain't your house. I know you want to make sure the place is safe for your 4 kids and shit, but damn, like, you got to chill out, bro.
Yeah.
I said that out loud when he asked Alfred, what's behind the door? I said, none of your business, nigga.
None of your business.
And it's also one of those things where, you know, Bruce had to have known that it was going to happen, given that, you know, he took him in. Like, at some point, him and Alfred just disappearing randomly, you know, questions would come up. So, I don't know. Maybe that's just one of those things where just looking too hard at it. But
also, it's wild. Like, they tried to have Bruce flex a little bit, but it just made him look stupid. Alfred called him, was like, yeah, you know, Dick took the car. And he was like, with the Jag? No, the other car.
The Bentley?
With the Camaro? No, the other car. The Bentley. Look, bro, you know what car I'm talking about.
The other car.
The car.
The other car.
Trying to make it look cool.
To be fair, that scene made sense because he showed him his car collection specifically and his motorcycles and shit. Yeah.
Why would Alfred bother to call him to tell him that? Because it would be like, oh, I can replace that. No, he caught the car. He got the car. You know what car I'm talking about?
And you know what?
The mobile. Let me put it that way.
In regards to cars, like I know I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be honest. The Batmobile in all three of these movies sucks in terms of like actual practical like usefulness. Like the streets of Gotham in all three of these movies is so narrow that there's no like driving this stretch limo around is like if you have to go in reverse or anything like that, you're SOL.
Well, it can climb up buildings and shit.
I was going to say, I don't know, Terry. It's got shifting tires and it can climb buildings, so I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie. Logic in this movie definitely went out the window in some of these points. Like the helicopter carrying the bank the physics doesn't work that way. Carrying the vault.
And did they just put it back exactly where it came from?
Hey man, there's a point where the blades of the helicopter was chopping through some shit, and it just chopped right through and went on. And I was like, "That's not how that will work." This helicopter was crashing like a motherfucker.
Anyway,
go ahead.
Oh
man, the car. Speaking of the car, when they did that grapple hook on that damn gargoyle, I was like, "That's a whole freaking car." It's not gonna hang on one gargoyle and climb a wall, bro. Like, is the car the superhero,
diesel, bro?
I'm not gonna lie. The wire that Batman uses for his batarangs, like that thing must be made out of adamantium because ain't no way that would hold for a lot of the stuff that he was doing.
Motherfucker will hold on Goliath. That's the gargoyle was holding on. God, dog.
But to kind of wrap things up, when I say that the characterization for this movie just wasn't that great, I'll put it this way. Not even looking at the movies that have come much later, like, you know, the Nolan trilogy and the other Batman movie that we have. Look, if we stick to just the 90s, you have Mask of the Phantasm, with characterization-wise, blows all three of these movies way out of the water. Like, Bruce Wayne is probably that's probably one of the most interesting depictions of Bruce Wayne still to this day. And so when you have something like that is so great, and then you like watch this movie, it's like, yeah, it just fumbled. So yeah, overall, like Sage, I'd give it like a 5 out of 10. It's not the worst movie ever. I mean, if we review the next one in the series, that's the worst movie ever. But this one is just average. It's not like it's something that you can watch and at least get some laughs and some enjoyment out of, but you're not gonna feel like you just totally wasted your time. And I will say, just real quick to answer your question, Sage, I'd give it to Two-Face in terms of favorite villains. Like, I actually really like the way. I feel like if Tommy Lee Jones was given more to work with, like Two-Face would have been a really good villain in this movie.
That's fair. I will say this: if you want me to be honest, I still like this more than Batman '89. Batman '89 is just not.
I'd actually agree with you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm glad I'm not tripping. Like that shit. Just the fact that there was it was the combat scenes and how useless he looked in every single one of them compared to this, where he's like actually kind of throwing punches and kicks, and you know the gadgets are helping him in battle, and he's like handling entire groups. Like every time you see him fight in Batman '89, it's like, oh boy, this dude, how long is it before he gets knocked over and they like stab him or beat his ass, and he can't even turn his fucking head. Like it was just so bad. And I don't know, like you could tell that was the beginning of superhero films, like the real outside of like Superman. Tell it's like the beginning of the modern superhero film, and it was just it was not it. Will, where'd you stand, man?
On this film here, I remember watching this a lot. I got a little history with it myself because I watched it a lot as a kid, and I watched the next movie a ton. I had that one on VHS, and I watched the stew out of that one. But on the movie that we did watch here, it's something, I'll say that much, and definitely like going back through and skimming it. I love Val Kilmer. He did his job. He did exactly what I needed him to do. I see Batman when I see him, so it's cool. But Dr. Trace Meridian, she kind of stuck out like a sore thumb to me. Like I'm just like, what are you doing? Especially like, what was it? It was during that soiree, and she ran into Batman and kissed him. My place, midnight, and I'm just like, this man on the job. And you trying to make a call? Excuse me?
A booty call.
I know. Yeah.
And then said psych when he got there.
That's what I was. See, doing all that. she irked me for a good section of the movie because I'm just like, yo, you really don't fit here, but you're here anyway. Because I know what you're here for, but you didn't need to be here. Let's see, and if we're gonna talk about these villains, I enjoyed them. I did, and for some reason, I forgot Drew Barrymore was in this movie. Also, I forgot clean as day. As soon as I seen it, I was like, oh, that's her. Damn, didn't think she was here. But Two-Face and Riddler. I almost said Joker because let's be honest. Two-Face. Tommy Lee Jones, excellent job on doing his depiction of Two-Face. I do agree with you, Terrence, that if he had just a little bit more to work with, and maybe if he wasn't so frustrated with Brother Carey, I think he could have definitely made Two-Face really stand out in this movie and be the real villain. Jim Carrey, yes, we know during that time he was going real crazy with his movies, doing his over-the-top slapstick comedy that he was doing. Because I think, didn't Ace Ventura kind of come out a little bit after this or before that, right? Or was it the same?
Before.
Before
Like
94 or something.
Yeah.
Because I know he was kind of like on his big run of like getting his movies out, doing his style of comedy.
Was The
and
Mask
everything
after
in his
this
movies.
or before?
Yeah, was it?
MASH should have been 96, right?
Okay.
Let
me see.
Okay.
I'll
find
answer
out.
your question.
Sure.
The Mask film. Damn, why is there so many of y'all?
know, right?
1994.
Okay.
So he had already been
Four?
in The Mask by then.
Wow.
Okay,
Oh.
I could have
I
sworn
thought it was
one of those movies
96.
after that. I thought it was a little bit after Batman Forever.
I'm ashamed.
Yeah.
I watched that movie 100 times.
She's
Not a
Yo,
joke.
this man was
Quite
in
all
Ace
of it.
Ventura and Mask in the same year.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
he was that
wow.
guy.
Monster.
He had that legendary run that year.
He had a
Big
legendary
Jim.
run. Big
Yeah,
Jim.
that was his
On
year.
Big Carry.
Big here. That's right.
Big Carry.
Yeah, I think the Riddler was like Edward Nygma and the whole Riddler thing, especially when he went to the Riddler persona and being in that. I'm not gonna lie, you just kind of slowly watch him just kind of like disintegrate piece by piece. Like he was this, and then he went to being like straight up Christmas ham. Like he was just going crazy the whole like latter part of that movie, and I was just like, this man is truly unhinged. Like he just was immaculately just like, I need to riddle you this, but please riddle me that. And I'm just, ugh. Yes. Jim Carrey is an interesting choice for the Riddler, I will say. But he did his job, but I think he kind of overstepped. Like, if they told him to go 100 yards, he went 400, if I had to say so myself. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. The coach told him to go 100. He said, I'm going to go up and down this motherfucker 4 times. So, yeah. I'll say he overacted in a way. So, but truthfully, if I had to say so, the Riddler was my villain of choice just because he just went so unhinged, because I know what he's like outside of this movie, because I'm not the biggest comic guy, but I have read some of them because as a kid, had them, used to read them every once in a while. I don't have them no more. Shout outs to my local Family Dollar from way back then. But yeah, the Riddler is it. And if I had to rate the movie, despite it being what it is, it probably go like a 5.5. It's nothing that I find myself picking back up at any given point in time. It's an okay movie, but it's not something I'd be like, go, you should see Jim Carrey. This is who you're really watching the movie for.
Technically, yeah. Because
Because
for the most
because
part,
it was
starred
his
the show.
run.
He
Yeah,
definitely
he was
was.
a star of the show. He took the star and ran with it.
All right, man. Devin, it's on you, man. What you think of the film, bro?
This is a pretty interesting Batman film. Now that I think about it, I know I watched the crap out of Batman and Robin. I don't even think I watched this one as a kid. I'm like, I don't think I might have seen bits and pieces of this one, but watching the full movie, it's an experience. I was actually heating up some food while Rakeem had started the movie up, and I said I wasn't even looking at the visuals. I'm like, Rakeem, that sound like a cartoon. Like I'm like, are we watching the right thing? Because it just like I didn't even.
Cartoon is better than this.
It was like the sound effects. I'm like, this sounds like a cartoon that I'm watching. I'm listening. I'm not even looking at the film just yet. It was. I'll give it points. They had a twisted metal scene. I'll give it points for that. That was a pretty cool scene. And we also got to see where Mr. Krabs got that technology from to take the guys, the what he saw on the TV and take it out.
Oh, where he
so we see that the Riddler was the one that made that tech. So that's kind of cool to see that correlation between the Batman universe and SpongeBob. But yeah, this is I love Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is one of my favorite actors. I watched a lot of his movies, like we just talked about, The Mask, Ace Ventura. I can't tell you how many times I watched those films. But I actually like him. He fits as a Riddler. I get why they chose him as a Riddler. But I will say he did go above and beyond, which I didn't really have a problem with because I expected it. That's Jim Carrey. That's what he does. But throughout the film, it did seem like I know me and King mentioned this and Tyler's like it's almost like he kind of he's skimming on the line of Joker, and it's like even Two-Face did it a little bit. It's like, man, is everybody trying to become a Joker? There's a lot of laughing, a lot of craziness. I'm like, dang, is everybody just becoming a Joker? But yeah, man, this film is interesting. We Batman gets a call for the bat suit, and we think something going on. It's like, nah. He's like, you trying to get under the bat cape? I was like, what kind of lie is this? Like, you try to get under the bat cape. I'm like, this reminds me of the dynamic between Lois and Superman. It's like, I just like Superman. I don't like you. I like Superman. And this was like the same. I'm like, what is your obsession with this?
Well, she changed her mind at some point in the movie, and I was like, when did he do something to make you change your mind in the first place? So
I was confused about that too.
When he started showing issues, when he had issues, like Bruce's issues, man, I'm really feeling them, man. And when he told me, I saw my parent in front of me, she was like, oh yeah, I get off on that.
I was confused because like she was like, nah, I think I wish you were someone else. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he turns around with this like little childish grin. I'm like, what are you smiling? What is happening? What?
Who somebody else was? He was like, "It's still me. I'm still in there,
bruh." But this movie has some scenes that I was like, okay, there were some pacing issues with this, and there was like a few scenes that had like some directorial issue. I don't know, but there was especially one that ending scene. It was some stuff that was like, all right, that didn't make no sense at all. So the scene where they went to see the circus act. Two-Face comes in there with that bomb, and we got Dick. He gets the bomb, and I'm like, doesn't this thing? You can look at it and tell this thing's supposed to have some weight on it. I'm assuming because they're lifting it up. He goes to the top and just up one arm. You're gonna take it up. You're gonna roll it out like
lifting, bro.
Like, sir,
he had to do a lot of lifting to pick up his kids, bro. What you mean?
I mean, he is quite strong because that type of
was a little heavy too. So I mean, he just learned how to pick up a lot of.
I mean,
the real flying graces. His ex-wife and his kids he threw away. The real flying grace.
That's crazy.
Wow, that's y'all crazy. But seeing a Riddler do his thing, his character create, basically the Riddler was just doing character creator mode in this whole film. Even literally when he was trying to make his costume, he was doing a character creator on his computer screen. And then throughout the movie, he was just like, "Oh, outfit of the day, let's go. Get ready with me." The little he's like, "Yeah, get ready with me. Outfit of the day, let's go."
I was with him until he showed up in that silver sequin suit. I said, all right, now. The pink hair, I said, we done gone just a tad too damn far. Like, what are we doing now?
Silver sequin suit, pink hair, the half and half eye mask.
He was doing so much by the head.
Man, I tell you one thing that irked me, man. I hated Two-Face's makeup. There was one scene where they zoomed in and he was just a straight line. I'm like, that's not how that should look in live action. It should be like there should be like a mark where it healed, where it got, he got burned or whatever. It was just straight line, just straight. I'm like, did y'all like finish that?
I will say that, to be fair, this was kind of back when Two-Face, that was kind of just his gimmick.
Yeah. I guess like the cartoon makes sense, but like when you translate that into like live action, it's like, technically it just I don't know. It just kind of bothered me. I guess that was this thing that bothered me. Like I said, the Twisted Metal scene where they were chasing Batman through the tunnels, and then he turned his car to Spider-Man and drove up the side of the building. There was a scene where they were shooting him, and I told Kim, I said, wait, what were they shooting at? Because Batman had already turned the corner, and they were still shooting. Like, what are you shooting at? Then you got the bullets from one, and you just gonna turn the corner, like. And it wasn't like they was shooting for a while. I'm like, he is not in front of you. He has turned the corner. Stop wasting ammunition. Now you get to the end of the movie. Well, first let me go back to Dick first, or Master Dick, I should say.
Master of all dicks.
He gets to Bruce mansion, right? And Bruce is trying to get him to stay there. It's like, hey man, I've experienced this, blah 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 blah. And he's like, nah, I'm out, man. I'm going. It's like, hey man, it looks like you on your tanks on E, man. You need some gas? It's like, huh? Gas? I guess I do need some gas. Oh, you got bikes? Oh, okay. A hamburger? Oh man, I'm so all right. I'm your partner, man.
He was like, you know what? Never mind. I'll stay.
I'm your partner, bro.
On a burger.
Just watching him, like, I'm like, bro, I would have folded you in half, bro. Like, you stole my. First off, the scene of him watching Alfred go in that door and like
that was handled so stupidly.
Just like him,
it was like Alfred basically told him the door was open because he was like, "Hey man, where you at? Oh, you looking down? All right, I just want to make sure. All right,
bro,
I'll open this secret door that nobody's supposed to come into. Like, man,
that was the stupidest scene, bro. This like quick time event took him like 2 minutes to flip and dip and do all this and slide.
That door would been long closed by the time he got to the bottom.
Go ahead, Terry.
Real quick. Another silly scene was when Bruce Wayne went into his office. He was like, lock, chair. It's like, these are the commands to get your stuff to work. Like, this is so simple.
Yo,
nothing special.
I'm gonna rewind real quick. The scene where he went into his office and hit the button and slid down. I said, hold on. I know he ain't going down there wrong. Like, they didn't show him get into a pile when he slid down there.
Over this. It's loose.
Yo, when he went down, it wasn't like, okay, you saw him open the thing, he got into a pod. He just slid down. I'm like, when did he get into a pod? I'm like, where the pod come from? Because me and Kid was like, there's no way he just went. I'm like, you would think that would happen like initially. He hit the button, the pod pop up, he get in it. No, he just went slid down. Then they would show, like, where the pod come from?
Bro.
Because I was like, I said, this can't be right. Because this is like, you can't be going down there just all exposed. Because that's not healthy.
That's not healthy at all.
That scene, and then the fact that when like he got in there, Alfred like looked at him, he didn't even say like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, Alfred, what are you? Are you trying to get fired? Like, what's going on here?
Yes,
like,
he ain't give a damn.
like what's happening, Alfred? I know you a mechanic and you a sous chef and all this, but get this boy out of here, man. Like,
Alfred really was just this the whole movie, just like,
Chris had the nerve to be mad at that man. I keep calling him Chris because I can't see him as Robin. And Chris had the nerve to be mad at that man when he was like, it's your fault. Could have stopped him. I was like, man, I'd have beat your ass. I ain't got time. I don't care nothing about your parents. Look, boy, I'm the reason you ain't homeless right now. Like, you done stole my car. You could have got killed. You could have fucked up my vehicle. Like, I'm not trying to hear none of that.
Hey, man, to be fair, Bruce did stand up and yell to everybody, I'm Batman. Just nobody paid attention.
Terrence, you took the thought out of my head. That's the scene I want to talk about.
Memory.
That's the scene when I'm talking about. There was some like some weird like directorial, because like nobody heard you. It's like he's like, I'm Batman. It's like, I think the only person heard, and she didn't even hear you, I don't think. I'm like, nobody heard you.
That didn't make any sense.
The fact that this man, like the Two-Face, I think, who was this random guy coming down here piecing up my goons? Who are you?
Well, that's the other problem. If you could just easily go down there and piece up the goons, why wouldn't you just do that instead of starting with, but I'm Batman? Like, no, bro, like, go down there and go to work.
Like, it's like nobody heard you. He's like, I'm looking for I'm Batman. It's like nobody heard you. And he just go down like Two-Face and think, who are you? And why is he piecing up all of my goons that are armed? Like,
well, he got distracted because the Flying Graysons got to work too.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So I'm gonna get to my closing.
Directorial wise, you could have easily just directed it in like where he's just working from the shadows and nobody could see him. Problem
Yeah.
was in this movie, it ain't no damn shadows, it's neon everywhere.
Yeah,
Man,
that is
was
true.
it, bro?
And
When
it
he was in
just
the alley
gets worse
fighting them
the next
dudes.
movie.
So I'm getting to the closing. The next thing that was weird pacing is when the Riddler, he got all the money, and all of a sudden he got a whole base with the giant blender. And I'm like, when did this happen? This would have taken a year at least. Like, how you build this fast? On a
He
set,
took
like
over
on an
somebody else's-
island?
I was wondering
Gotham
that
got
too. There
like
were so many things in the movie that just kind of happened at a quick pace. It's like, how did
Gotham got a realtor for like secret bases.
maybe
They
so.
must have some
But you gotta think about
construction.
Gotham City, especially that one. They got a realtor for that.
They
They
probably
gotta
do.
have one, right?
It's like also, how did Edward Nygma just like his business just grew out of absolutely
That's another
nowhere?
thing I was asking
Well,
myself.
he stole that shit. He stole that shit. Oh, he stole all that money, and he used the money as like effectively seed money. Oh my god, this is so stupid. But like he like used that to like mass produce the item that he was trying to sell, and it turned out to work. And at first I was like, man, would nobody buy this dumbass idea? And then I thought about all the stupid shit that people spend money on now, and I'm like, never mind. They would have bought that shit
Even-
like
Yeah,
that.
it,
even
would've-
the
it
90s
definitely would have fallen into like
Smello-
those 90s
Yeah.
As seen on TV. Oh,
infotainment
yeah.
commercials.
Smell-o-vision and all that shit. And also it was kind of like it was kind of like a very on the nose parallel of like how TV rots your brain. You really shouldn't be paying attention to all the media you consume. It's you being used by somebody else to take advantage of you. That's kind of a meta progressive narrative of that, but that wasn't well thought out.
This film was also that aspect was very similar. I think it was Halloween 3. It was like using TVs to like turn people into like killers or whatever. But the last
I think
part
you're talking
talked
about Halloween 2. I think I know what you're talking about. I think
I know
think
it's
that's
one
Halloween
of them, 2 or
yeah.
3. Yeah. The last part we finally got to the base. I because King made a comment. Robin coming there, it's like, and then Batman said, "No, as a partner." There you go. So they go out. Batman's in the little TIE fighter.
Robin was every bit the trouble that Batman thought he would be.
That's
That
what
man
Rakeem
was
said.
useless.
Rakeem was like, Batman's like, man, maybe I shouldn't have let you come. He's screwing up my
make work for that man,
bro.
He's screwing up my swag right now.
When it got to the end, I said literally everything would have been easier if Robin
If he hadn't been there. Yep.
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 Because there was only one hostage. And his dumb ass, like, you should have just killed Two-Face. You see, Batman didn't have an issue with it. You should have just kicked him off there. And then you could have went up in there and helped. But instead, he just turned into a hostage himself and just made more work for that man.
He did his job when he saved Batman's life with the OG Robin costume on with the man. That was when he did his job. That's all he needed to do. He should have been training. He should have been training the back the whole time.
He should have been.
That scene was like, because Batman was talking, he was like, talking about something like sight and blind. I'm like, and I'm thinking, oh, he's about to throw a flashbang or something and like divert. He's like, no, forget that. I'm just gonna throw it and blow it up. Like, what? I thought she was about to blind him. This whole monologue made no sense. Even showed the bat. I'm like, I thought she was gonna blind him. He's like, no, screw it, blow it up. But the part that didn't make any sense. That was so 2 holes right under both. What's the lady name? What's his love interest name? Chase.
Yeah.
And Robin. There was 2 separate holes on 2 opposite sides of that little room that had only enough room for look like one person to slide down. Why when they dropped and Batman followed them, it's a big hole. I'm like, I thought what? How? There was 2 separate holes that opened up under each one of them.
Hey man.
Thought it was one hole, but I mean, I wasn't paying attention like that, so I could be wrong.
I thought it was because if it was one hole, they would have all failed at the same time.
That's true.
I was like, it was 2 holes, and how was it enough space? Also, how did Two-Face get down there? Yeah, they fell a long
that
way.
Was my thing. How the fuck did Two-Face get down there? Because Batman had to use gravity and that adamantium rope to get himself and grab 2 people. Like, and then Two-Face was just down there. Like, oh yeah, I knew this nonsense would pop off. So I mean, I just decided I threw that shit before I came in the room. Like, I was just down there waiting on you. Like,
Two-Face said, sometimes you gotta pop out show things.
I was like, how did you get down here? But man,
however you got down there, Batman had the best solution to getting rid of him. I tell you, it's like, oh, you forgot to throw your coin. He was like, oh yeah, I forgot myself. Throw this coin. And Batman was like, "Bet, got your ass." Threw them coins in the air. Like, my coins.
That was funny.
As clumsy as that was, at least it made sense for the character. It actually
did.
made
Oh,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
It really did.
yeah. If I were to give it some rating, I give it a 6.5.
Wow.
My favorite villain, Alfred, because he just wasn't doing nothing. He's just how the
He never
word.
caused
I'm
problems.
How
telling
did
bro,
you see these two grown men come up to the store, tweak and tweak? Like those are two men, bro, and just get whopped in the head. Like, bro, you fired. I'm firing you, bro.
I'm telling
That's
you,
my
bro.
that's my favorite villain.
It's
I'm telling you,
definitely
bro.
the
Alfred, the
optic.
whole
I ain't gonna
movie
lie.
was just like,
I
it
think
is what it is.
he low key hating on Batman, bro. There's no way you look. You see children, and then you see two like those are men. Tweak a tweet, open the door, pow. Like, come on, bro. Come on, man. Like,
Alfred
It
was
is what it
1000%
is.
the OPSEC weakness. So like, yeah, I can see where you came from with like him being a villain.
and one last thing I gotta add. While we was watching the
Okay.
film, and Two-Face, so Batman got he got nicked by that bullet at Two-Face. Ricky said he got trumped. I was like, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I just had to throw it in there because I thought the same thing. He shot the gun, Batman. Bruce, he's like,
It sounded like dude, not no damage to him. He just had like a minor scar. I'm like, man,
I was like,
what that gun looked like it would blow somebody's shit
bro,
off.
it looked like
And he
the
just got-
wingman from Apex.
What the?
hand cannon, and all of a sudden it was just like, oh, I'm like, ain't no way.
For a kid had
me
me
like,
like,
get the fuck out of
It's a way.
But that's all I got, man.
All right, man. I think we all mostly in accordance. I think actually Raheem and Devin might have been higher on it than the rest of us because I
Yeah.
definitely came in at like a 5. I was like, man, and it made me think worse of the OG film because I think I gave that like a 5, and I'm like, no, that's got to be a 4. I mean, like this is definitely not no 6.
Mm.
This for sure ain't no 6, and it's definitely better than 89 by like a good bit. The only thing 89 had over this is that it's not as campy, and they actually tried to set up like a gothic atmosphere for it. And I mean, like I'll give it that. Other than that, like the
I do
action
like the
scenes being
atmosphere
so
better
weak.
in one.
And then like they didn't write its female character as like a fleshlight. So I mean, it has that going for it too. Because like, good God, Chase Meridian just not a character at all. They should be like whoever wrote that should apologize. I'm sorry.
They wrote her like
But
a
yeah,
moist
that's
hole.
Oh God, I wouldn't quite go that far, but yeah, that is pretty close to what they did. Because I mean, like every time she looked, she just had like a blush on her face, and she was like,
Yep.
"I'm like, God dang, relax! Like, ain't you got work to do?" And no, I guess her work was just calling people wackos. Because every time Bruce was like, "Is that a technical term? Like, why don't you just like actually?" They never actually tried to make her even pretend like she knew any scientific terms. Like she had one time where she did a scientific term shit, and then like it was almost like she was trying to beat people to the punch because she was like, "Oh, it sounds like a wacko," and he was like, "Is that a technical term?" And she was like, "Oh, well, he has actually this condition," and then Bruce was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess he is a wacko," and I guess she was like, "Yeah, that's why I said that the first time because I knew your dumbass wasn't gonna understand." And I mean, like if they had spent more time to make her look smart, it would have worked. Or they could have just taken that character out. Either way, I don't know. That's gonna wrap this week up. If you like this episode, hit us with a like, a subscribe, tell your nerdy friends and family about us, and most importantly, do me a personal favor. Have an excellent week. Peace.